It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by AgileDad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. Anyone who knows me well knows that I'm a fan of emergent patterns, and I found one regarding product outcome success. So if you're trying to master focusing on outcome and not focusing on output, if you're trying to get everything together and you're trying to say, I want to make sure that we're focused on the right things, right? Then this article, this podcast episode, this is going to be right up your alley. So one of the things I've discovered when working with teams is that they have struggles. Let's put it this way, right? Sometimes product teams are struggling to know if they're producing valuable results, or struggling under long, uninspiring Big Bang release guidelines, or they're struggling to carry the weight of unfinished, risk laden work, or struggling to deliver their piece of the puzzle in a vacuum. It's all these things that you see from time to time when you move from one organization to the next, especially to do coaching. You find that people either don't know their customer, or they treat their product as an all or nothing and knowable up front, or they don't finish working end-to-end product features, so they end up with piece and parcel, or you find that they're working in a silo and that silo is not getting them any further along. So there's just a lot to be said here. So I think but the good news is I don't want to be negative Nelly. I want to make sure that you understand that there are four simple patterns that you can do, four simple things that you can do that are going to help you better engage as a product team. Okay, here we go. Number one is probably the most obvious, and it is the most relevant. Engage directly with users and stakeholders. So a lot of times you have proxies that sit in between. You're playing a telephone game, or you have a separate team that feeds requirements to the product team, i.e. Scaled Agile Framework, right? What ends up happening is nobody's talking to the actual stakeholders. We don't talk about Bruno. And I heard someone say the last thing we want to do is have the people doing the work talk directly to the people who are asking for it. They would be so confused. And it blows my mind when I hear these things because they're so symptomatic, right? But I think the real key here is we need to get as close as we can to the people who are requesting the work. And we need to make sure we have a clear understanding of what their wants, needs, whims, and desires are. Now, in all fairness, product owners often struggle with this because they're strapped. They have too many things in flight. They have too many projects going on. They're not honoring WIP. So this emphasizes the importance of having a really strong business analyst on your team that can help assist the product owner in getting to the point where they have the things they need. So, I'm not trying to beat the drum here, but I think that there is a place for business analysts. And I think that a lot of us disregard just how important a business analyst is. The business analyst does represent the voice of the customer. They should be holding focus groups. They should be interviewing support. They should be interviewing training. They should be doing social media sentiment. They should be gathering information. They should be directly engaged with these stakeholders so that we can make sure that we are doing the simplest things possible to make sure that we stay in tune with the product strategy, the roadmap, feature refinements, to make sure that we understand everything that's happening. So that when we show and test the product, that the right people are in the room, and that when we're gathering evidence and feedback, that we're able to promote or produce and show things without feeling like we're going to suffer penalty for doing so. Okay, let's go to number two. So the second thing I noticed is if you merge and validate your product in thin end-to-end slices. So let me explain. This was part of the conversation I recently had in a Agile Expert episode where I was talking with Anton, and we were talking about how to slice work and how to break things down and how to engage better. And I think that if you can slice things into small consumable pieces that are end to end, it's going to help you not only take better pride in your work, but it's going to help everybody see a visual picture of where you're trying to go. The whole I know everything, I can plan it out all up front model, where you create the perfect technical user requirements document, the giant turd, that model is long gone. It doesn't work anymore. So we need to make sure that we're I don't want to say prideful, but make sure that we're intelligent enough and that we take pride in there. Building a predictive, deterministic set of things that we can do, that we set realistic goals, that we are making sure that we stay engaged, and that we understand and can validate what we're doing and why we're doing it. And it all makes sense. It all adds up. All right, let's go to number three. Number three is my favorite. It's called Little's Law. Finish one thing before you start something else. Having 8 items 89% done equals you have 0% done. right? It's one of these things where starting doesn't equal your progress, but in companies, I see people treat it this way, and we can't continue to do that. And part of the catalyst for this is we try to keep all the stakeholders happy. We want to make sure everybody sees that their stuff's being worked on. Everything's a high priority because it's all incredibly important. Or you hit an obstacle, so you start something else without, trying to get the obstacle solved. There's so many things that can happen. But the truth is, we need to stop starting new work and start finishing one goal, one feature, one task at a time, and knock things out so that we can move on to the next most important thing. I do a big section in my product owner workshops about limiting WIP and the importance of limiting WIP. And I talk about this at the product or project level. I talk about this at the team and organizational level. And I talk about this at the individual level. And what you discover is that by cutting down on context switching and cutting down on interruptions, it allows the team to release things with higher quality, with higher end customer satisfaction, and with increased revenue for your product or service and faster time to market. So you still finish the same amount of work. It's just somebody has to wait a little longer for theirs. And that's what it boils down to, right? It's just you end up with better quality, happier customers. And in the long run, you're going to follow a model that more closely resembles what more of the Fortune 100 companies are doing. And then finally, number 4, we need to teach teams to work together as a team and not a collection of individuals. We are teams, not working groups. And I think that sometimes it boils down to leadership just trying to keep people busy, because if someone's idle, that means they're not doing something. And that's not always the case. Sometimes the idle work is the most important work. Team members trying to stay wrapped in their lane of specialty. This is what I do. This is all I know. That's another common thing that I see. Or the misperception that one person focused on a task is inefficient. You can't just focus on one thing. That's inefficient. You need to focus on more than one thing. That kills me, right? And I think that anytime you get to that point, you start recognizing that discussion is wasteful. We spend way too much time in meetings. We need to scale back. And what these are all actually symptoms of the bigger problem. So when we start working together as a team and we start having those conversations as needed, and we start treating product development like it's complex and uncertain, and we need to have discovery. And I think that's the key to all of this. The aha key is, if we switch, instead of saying, let's not focus on idle workers, but let's focus on idle work, right? Let's encourage people to step outside of their specialty, step out of their comfort zone, and keep things flowing in a way that you've never seen before. Avoid the trap of trying to say everything that's hands on keyboard time counts and everything that's not doesn't, right? Amplify your decision quality with many like minds and many perspectives, and give everyone an equal seat at the table and give them a voice so that they can speak. And I think that, I heard someone say, after all, there's no I in team. And I said, no, but there's a me, M-E, and I care, because the meat is what we're after all. So we need to make sure that we have barriers removed from our field of play, and that we understand how to best capitalize on the things that we're trying to do. And I think that if you can switch those things and get people on the same page, that it's going to help you really be successful with your product outcomes, and it's going to help you be a successful product manager or product owner. That's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, learn more at AgileDad.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.